I was going to call you Beth Cruz, but I didn't want to be wrong.
I appreciate that. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. We do not have a quorum, so we cannot do the consent agenda. I don't really have a, I can do my board report though, right? My chair's report. I don't really have a full formal report. I just wanted to say something that's really out of, I guess, you know, I don't know what to call it. I had a great day today. I really, really did. Today was a very, very good day. We had an excellent Director's Evaluation Committee meeting, and I will be providing an update on that later. And we got to hear the great work that has been done around our elementary expulsions. And I mention that as great work just because it is very rare that in the space of public education that we see so many various facets of our community come together to work on behalf of our students. The first time we saw it, I think in my time here, and there may have been others, so I apologize if I'm overlooking anything, was with the last director's search. And we had the nonprofit community, we had Metro government at the table, we had the faith community at the table, we had teachers, we had principals, we had everyone there wanting the best for our students. And we saw it again, and we're seeing it again with the work around the elementary expulsion. So I think, again, as Ms. Buggs has repeatedly, I'll chime in with another thank you for all of you who have been engaged and who have invested. And so when you spend, I don't know how many hours it is from 9 to 6. 9 hours, isn't it? When you spend 9 hours wrestling down a topic and knowing that at the end of the day you're wrestling it down because you want what's best. You want what's best for our students. You want what's best that continues to support the ability for our building level leaders and classroom teachers to continue to deliver on the quality education that they're committed to delivering to. That's a lot of different stakeholders, right? And parents, right? Parents to feel that their child is in an environment that is really a caring one and one that's concerned and interested in what's best for them. So you've got so many stakeholders to consider when doing this kind of work, and not just around elementary expulsions. The work that we do here at this table is multifaceted and impacts so many different people in so many different ways. So if I haven't said it to my colleagues here at the table as well, and to our administrative support and all of you, thank you so much for what you do. Sometimes we wake up and we're tired. We go to bed with black eyes from taking the licks and the beatings for doing what we believe is the best thing to do. But I appreciate the stick-to-itiveness that you all demonstrate every day for our kids. Thank you very much. Awards and recognitions.
Thank you. I will call up Executive Director of Facilities and Construction, Mr. David Prophet, and his team, if they are here.
Your building's on somewhere.
Okay,
Oh,
there he goes. The U.S. Green Building Council presents an annual leadership award to the projects, people, and groups raising the bar and providing green buildings in the state of Tennessee. This year, Metro Nashville Public Schools was selected as the winner of the 2018 USGBC Tennessee Leadership Award as a community champion. MNPS was selected for our support of LEED certification for school construction, ensuring that students and staff have safe, healthy, and sustainable places to learn and work for generations to come. MNPS uses the guidelines of the USGBC to create new facilities with the Silver LEED, Leadership Through Efficient Energy Design, designation as a minimum. We utilize the same guidelines for additions to facilities where those facilities already have the LEED designation. We even use the LEED guidelines for any capital construction regardless of the current facility designation. So even if those projects will not have the LEED designation, they will be constructed to LEED principles. Thus far, we have 11 facilities that are designated LEED Silver, with one project, Tusculum Elementary School, that has a designation of LEED Gold, the only public school in Tennessee with that designation. The award was presented at the annual Leadership Awards luncheon during the Impact Nashville Conference on October 11th. Congratulations, and thank you for the good work you've done on behalf of our schools.
raised the bar, LEAD, and USGBC. USGBC is the legislative arm, if you will, of LEAD, and they have raised the bar on how you get to that gold level again. Well, we just submitted Eagle View as a gold project, so we should hear something within the next 30 days about that. We hope it makes it there. We'll see. That's our goal anyway. So, yeah, we're really proud of this, and we're going to continue going and working for our schools to make safe and healthy and energy efficient and sustainable schools in all of our projects wherever we go. So, there we go.
Thank you for your great work.
Somebody wants to take a picture.
Oh, are we taking a picture? All right. Oh, like all of us?
Yes. Is it your district?
Are y'all coming?
No. Is this your district?
It's for the whole district. It's for the whole district.
That's what I thought.
In fact, you come here.
Oh, you come hold it.
You can come.
You know
Huh? It's not. It's for the whole district.
It's for the whole district.
It's for all 16 schools that we go. Three.
Thanks for that honor. Very nice glass you got there. Go ahead.
So now that we have 5 people in attendance, can I get a motion to adopt the agenda as printed?
I move.
And a second? All right. All in favor of adopting the agenda as printed, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we'll move forward. Governance issues, Ms. Buggs.
The consent agenda is as follows. 1A, site acquisition of 2.59 acres located at 88 Hermitage Avenue for the future Nashville School of the Arts. 1B, recommended approval of change order number 6 for Overton High School additions and renovations, American Constructors. 1C, recommended approval of change order number 6 for Martin Luther King Jr. Magnet School additions and renovations, American Constructors. 1D, awarding of purchases and contracts. 1, Alignment Nashville. 2, Education Resource Strategies. 3, Pencil Foundation. 4, Smart Choice Technologies. 5, Specialized Education of Tennessee, Inc. 6, TNTP, Inc., formerly known as the New Teacher Project. And 1E, School Calendar 2019-2020. Madam Chair, I recommend the consent agenda is as stated, but I do want to remove the school calendar. That was my bad. Do I have to read it all over again?
Does she have to read it all over again?
Dang. So I read the consent agenda, but I am requesting that we discuss E, the school calendar for 2019-2020.
So you want to move approval of the agenda with the exception of item?
So I move that we accept the consent agenda as read with the exception of 1E, school calendar 2019-2020.
So second. All in favor of reading of the approval, say aye.
Aye.
Do we need to vote on something? It's fine. Okay, any opposed? All right.
So I know we got the new school calendar and just wanted to discuss it in comparison to the original school calendar that was brought by that task force. I think it gets, when we keep setting this precedent of having teachers, principals, parents, and other community members come around the table and make a decision, and then we as a board say, well, I know we had all these stakeholders make this suggestion, but I really don't think it's a good idea. I want us to take a look back at that original calendar because it had so many different stakeholders put their hands in it and develop it the way it was. And then I got a lot of questions over the weekend about this change because what it boils down to is that fall break would be changed, would be moved up 2 weeks, and moved up 1 week, and then that Friday that is typically a high absence date for our staff, that becomes a PD day. And, we talk a lot about the different contracts and about professional development and how much we spend on it. And I would hate to have a professional development day that's still going to be a high absence day for our teachers. when I think about, I don't want that day to, impede education, by, that directly, when they are in front of or when they should be in front of students, but I also don't want to impede student instruction based on teachers missing professional development. I think I said exactly what I need to say. So, yeah.
What are you asking?
I'm asking that we actually look at at adopting the original calendar as it was stated. And I just kind of want to hear any feedback on the change.
So 2 questions. Is there anyone here that can speak to the calendar and the changes from the central office? Sorry. And my other question would be sort of the drop dead date from a hiring and from HR perspective, from any other vantage points. So when is your we need a calendar in place and know how we're moving forward day? What's that date? Would be my other question. So if you could answer the second question first, I would appreciate it.
David Sevier, board staff. I would say that we are at the end of our line in terms of needing to approve a calendar. We are getting, I'm currently sitting on several information requests from parents and others in the community wanting to make plans. And so frankly, I haven't responded to them, thinking that we would tie this up this evening. But in terms of hiring and those sorts of things, I'm not sure that's as impacted as it is at this point. But in regard to the first question, I believe that there are trade-offs in any sort of building of a calendar like this, right? The version prior to this, this is actually version 5. We'll call that one version 4. Version 4 did set that fall break a week later. It did have some opportunities for the PD earlier. We've worked with the instruction division, spoke with Dr. Felder. She understood the absentee issue and understood also that it was important to align the fall break with the end of the quarter, with the end of the marking period, to give teachers time to handle paperwork and that sort of thing. We also recognize that's an incredibly important event in our community, life of our community, and want to recognize and honor that. She understands that because we did work so hard last year to get the law changed so that we can actually use that time for planning, that we were going to divide that as a PD and planning time, and that teachers, if they were to miss that time, would be missing their planning time. They wouldn't be missing professional development during the morning. So we've already talked and have a commitment from MNEA to work with us on messaging that, so they can understand, so that teachers out in the field can understand that we want them to have that professional development, but we also want them to have the option to use the time to engage with their community as they see most appropriate.
Gotcha. So let me make this clear. I am ready to pass a calendar. I know that the more we push this back, the harder it's going to be for our schools, our students, our staff. I just wanted to make sure that we really make an informed decision. And I do want to look at, and maybe this is another policy governance issue, but look at taking the calendar away from the board and leaving it with the stakeholders to make the decision, because you all have a calendar committee.
But doesn't state law require us to vote on the
State law
calendar?
requires that we pass it. I would advocate, we've already had this discussion, I would be delighted to have one of you serving on the calendar committee. Just so you can sort of see how the sausage gets made in terms of all the things that have to go on in this. And it's not it's not people in a basement, sort of cooking up, conjuring up spells. It's almost everybody you can think of that comes to this, and everyone has really good reasons for wanting to do what they want to do relative to the calendar.
Right.
And just as a point of reminder for some of us and just making others aware, I don't remember how many years ago it was, but the board kind of put just 2 stakes in the ground. One was that the first day of school would not be any earlier than the first Wednesday in August or something like that. And then the other one was, because of the high absentee rate, if we could avoid that Friday. So we had been aligning fall break with the week, with the university's homecoming week. And so I think this still gets us to that Friday. But again, I say this almost with a little bit of hesitation, there's nothing that we can do to regulate 6,000 people and how they choose to exercise their time. And so they're either going to choose to participate in the activity and we impact students, or we minimize the impact on students, and they make a choice about whether that professional development is important to them or whether having that planning time is important to them. So I think what we're doing here is, for the majority of us I know at this table, it is students first. And so what we're doing with this calendar is minimizing the negative impact on the classroom, on classroom instruction. It's not ideal, it's never going to be, but Ms. Buggs, I want to say I do appreciate your comments that, and Dr. Sevier, that these calendars don't come to us, shaking, a magic 8-ball 9 times to figure out how to use those months. It really comes from individuals understanding what happens in the classroom, what happens at central office, who are the other external stakeholders that are impacted by the calendars and the dates that we select. And so it does kind of smart, I'm sure, when this board sits here and makes different decisions. But at the end of the day, we still are authorized, required to weigh in. And we have to decide whether we want a rubber stamp or we don't. We blanch at rubber stamping when we think it's something that's come from the director, but we want a rubber stamp when it comes from a community of stakeholders. We've got to be consistent in how we conduct ourselves here. So I think we were well within our space to express the concerns that were expressed, and I do again appreciate those that reconvened to come up with an alternative for us.
I want to thank the committee that worked on this. I want to echo some comments from my district, which is that we would love to see Parent-Teacher Conference Day earlier than November. As a parent, I would not want to wait until the second quarter to meet my child's teacher and figure out how they're doing. So if there's a way we can talk about that next year. And as a former teacher, I support that mental break and between first quarter, second quarter with that fall break. I think that, anyway, as a teacher, I think that probably feels good. So.
Anyone else?
I feel comfortable to move forward then.
Okay. So we now have a vote on I need a motion on the 2019-2020 school calendar.
Move that we adopt the calendar as presented.
Can I get a second? All right. It's moved by Ms. Walker and second by Ms. Elrod. All in favor? Can we get a thing up and use our doohickeys now? Okay. Yeah. I'll need to do this on the, yeah. You don't have a doohickey?
It's just next to Chair Nashville.
You can use mine.
Actually, this is mine.
Shut up. So help me out, Miss. We've had a board member to abstain from voting on the school calendar.
We have to have 5 votes.
I understood.
If anything happens, so at this point, if you can't get 5 votes for it, then you do.
We don't have a calendar.
Adopt the calendar.
So do we deliberate, or this is dead until the next meeting when it can be brought back up?
It's however you want to do it. I mean, if you think that through some discussion and further discussion here, that there's a chance to get it passed, you certainly can do that. But without any action, it will just be brought back up at the next meeting.
Is there anything that can be asked of the staff or the committee that would help make?
I think we need to have other discussion.
Okay, is there any specific discussion or specific information we need to prepare for that
I
discussion?
just want to be able to look at it a little bit more before I vote on it.
Okay, maybe I'm not asking it appropriately. Are there any specific discussions you want to have, so there's specific information that we could get aside from the calendar beforehand?
Okay, so we'll just make sure that this is on the agenda for the next board meeting. I apologize, guys. Sorry, Dr. Spear. We're going on to committee reports. The evaluation committee meeting was held today at 3 o'clock in the boardroom. Our chair of the director evaluation, Mr. Pinkston, was present and facilitated that meeting. The primary focus of that, goal for that meeting, and actually the only goal for that meeting, was to help our new board members to become familiar with the instrument that we used in the director's evaluation that was administered in June. And I hope we provided you all with the information that you needed. So they've got a lot of reading and homework to go back and look through that. We will also provide them with the comprehensive summative results that were documented by in electronic form by the previous board. So the next action from the for this board in this space is to reach out to Cross and Joftis, who are the vendors that helped us to create this instrument, to meet one-on-one with our new board members, to answer any questions or concerns that they may have or any recommendations for modification, and then meet as an evaluation committee to see how we would modify that instrument. So that instrument, just as a reminder, is the summative, sort of the final end-of-year wrap-up, end-of-school year wrap-up evaluation for the director. The second action item we have is once the new board members are acclimated to the tool and the process, is to create the formative assessment. And I just reiterated a couple of things in that meeting, that the formative assessment is named such because it should be informative. It's to, we have to decide what KPIs, what things we want to put a bead on. To watch at, to understand how we're performing on certain metrics. And then it happens in January so that we can, the administration can course correct if necessary, if we don't sense that we're trending in the right direction and or at a rate that will help us to meet the goals that, that have been set in those particular areas for this year. Some of the other things that information that was shared, and I share this with the general public so that you will understand. The third thing that we do is a board self-evaluation. So we did a very robust one, which was an exhaustive, painful number of questions. And so the goal is to actually pull that back up. Let's take a look at it and to be more consistent with how we self-reflect on our behaviors as a board and how we are fulfilling one of our primary roles. And so we only have 3, as shocking as it may seem. As long as these meetings go, we actually only have 3 areas of responsibility. One is the hiring and monitoring of the director, or monitoring of the district through the director. The second is setting a budget and approving it around this table for presentation to the council. And the other is reviewing our policies and ensuring that we don't have policies that hinder the ability of the district to achieve the goals that they have set. And that's the first one. The hiring and monitoring director is where the management comes in. And so one of the comments that I shared in that committee meeting was that, you know, we are elected, and we often hide behind being elected as our ability to have a free-for-all and how we communicate with the public. But we were hired to manage. And I don't know how many of you have managers on your job. You all may be wealthy or self-employed. But if you have a manager on your job and that manager is not happy with your performance, I think you would expect that conversation to be between you and your manager. And so it was one of the other points that we raised. And hopefully we'll get to a point where part of that board self-evaluation and that biweekly, is that twice a month? Okay, that biweekly self-reflection as a board, one of those questions will be, have we conducted ourselves in a way that is designed and reflective of a board that is supportive of the success of this administration? We have but one job, guys, when it comes to the director of schools, and we are his manager. And as a manager, we are kind of designed, and our role is to help support his success. When he fails, our job is to point that out through an evaluation process and expect in response from him a plan of action to course correct. If we ever get to the point where his failures and his plans of actions to course correct are not satisfactory to the majority of this board, we will vote accordingly. But that all happens in a director evaluation process. And though I highly appreciate the level of engagement that we have from the community here in just about everything that happens in this school system, it helped us greatly in a director's evaluation search. It helped us greatly when we talked about the expulsions of elementary school students. Your engagement is important, but the decision still lies with the 9. It lies with the 9. That you elected, yes, but you elected them to manage. And so our job is to manage, and we have to manage with fidelity. And doing that, again, requires that we do that through the processes that have been established in this board. with our policies under this administration. So I thank all of you who were present at the evaluation committee meeting. If you have any challenges in getting the information that you need to make informed decisions and to weigh in on the evaluation process, please let Mr. Pinkston or myself know. That's all I got. Governance committee report.
Okay, so we had a brief governance committee meeting at 4:30, and Dr. Majors and his task force provided us with a response to the resolutions that we have put forward. So he had his committee had four different recommendations, really productive, thoughtful process that he put in place. Really appreciate that. And so Ms. Buggs sort of facilitated that conversation, very, very helpful. So we have some work to do, particularly around the recommendations 3 and 4, which we feel like we can move through with less discussion and deliberation, and then some much more serious conversations to come on recommendations 1 and 2. And so look for us to continue that conversation at the next governance meeting. Does that capture it?
That's perfect.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Walker. Director's report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In the MOU with MNEA last year, the board and the association agreed to establish and maintain a joint compensation committee of 3 members appointed by the administration, 4 appointed by the association, and 1 appointed by the Board of Education. The committee began its work in September to develop a shared vision and framework for a fair and equitable compensation system for MNPS certificated personnel. Tonight, the committee is going to provide an update on their work, outlining the steps they have taken and will take to address their charge. MNEA President Dr. Eric Huth will introduce his team and its focus. A Director of Compensation Strategy, Cheryl Winters, will explain the committee's accomplishments to date, and Chief of Staff Dr. Marcy Singer-Gabella will outline next steps. At this time, I will call the presentation members up.
They're going to sing for you.
That's all. Keep going.
Okay, I'm Eric Huth. I'm president of MNEA. I'm on the committee, and the rest of the committee are here. Paula Pendergrass is one of the co-chairs. Cheryl Winters is the other one. She's in HR, working in compensation. Paula is an AART at Granbury. Lisa Spencer, also from HR. I can never remember her title, though. She's not worried about it. Kenny Martin's a special ed teacher from MLK. Anna Shepard, school board chair, is also on our committee, but she is not able to be here tonight because of the death of her mother, as you know. Michelle Sheriff is a teacher at H.G. Hill. And Marcy Singer-Gabella is the chief of staff. She works with Dr. Joseph. Okay, so we've met in September 2 times, in October 3 times, and then we've scheduled some upcoming meetings for November and December. What we're doing here today is bringing you a preliminary report based on the charges that were in the MOU. The agreement that we reached was that we should look at a comprehensive salary plan, and then also referred to the compensation committee were the issues of pay for voluntary workshops and training, exception pay, and the Veterans Day, and pay for the Veterans Day holiday. And so those are the issues that we've been working on. And we're planning on, I hope I'm not stepping into someone else's part. Is that your part? I'll let you go.
No, actually, I think you're going to step into Mark.
I'm stepping into the conclusion. So I will pass the baton.
Thank you so much, Eric. Hello, we'd like to share some highlights of the work that we've been focusing on. We have drafted a goal statement, and I would really call this a work in progress, that being because we're updating a market analysis that will inform us of what a reasonable end date would be to attach to the goal statement to make it time-bound. We have also drafted a compensation philosophy statement, and we will be recommending that at our next presentation to you. What we're sharing today are the building blocks that are foundational to this philosophy statement. And those building blocks are representative of both quantifiable aspects as well as intangible yet really impactful aspects of total rewards. And they include, as you can see, fair and competitive salary and benefits, a variety of opportunities for career advancement, ongoing professional learning and development, a respectful and transparent culture, and equitable access to sufficient quantity of quality instructional materials. Okay, so just a teaser for what's going to be coming very soon.
We're working short and sweet here. But each of those pieces of the compensation philosophy statement emerged out of our conversations about the four areas that Eric mentioned earlier. So these emerged for us as values that we wanted to make sure were going to get reflected in a compensation philosophy statement. So what's next? We are going to continue to research on areas that have a significant impact on what compensation strategy needs to look like. We're particularly interested in the effects of chronic underfunding on teacher retention and student outcomes. We are also trying to look at compensation strategies that support the recruitment, development, and retention of effective educators. We want to deepen, as Cheryl mentioned, the market analysis. And we will develop a written proposal with estimated costs and then present our findings to you. We'll be back here in January. And that's it. So, any questions?
Great, thank you so much.
Oh, that's really it.
Okay. Thank you very much. Did you send that template out to everybody else that presents? No, I'm just kidding. Are there any questions for the committee? Please.
I would just want to make a statement. I think that, I hope I'm speaking for the entire board when I say we believe that we can pay our teachers better, and we want to work hard to make that happen. And so that if we can work as advocates, whether it's with Metro Council or the legislature, or whoever that needs to be, right? I think you can count on us to do what we need to do to help us get there.
And I just want you all to know that in the TSU parade, homecoming parade, in which I rode, y'all had somebody planted in every block yelling, "Eat the black teachers more!" And I just had to keep my little smile. Yeah. But Mrs. Walker is correct. It is painful. It's painful, and we understand that. And I keep reflecting back on the Time magazine covers that Dr. Joseph used when we did the press conference around the priority schools. That it's a national issue, and so if we could even lobby through some of our national organizations to help us with this issue, I think that would be a good place to start to leverage some influence as well. So again, thank you all for taking the time to do that. We have no other business on the agenda. Just we do have the pending topics that are there. Just want to point out that what we want to add to this is that we need to schedule another governance committee meeting, and that we'll be scheduling another director eval committee after you guys get to meet with Cross and Joftis. And that meeting will be around answering any concerns about the summative tool and starting to prepare the formative evaluation tool as well. We'll start with announcements. Ms. Bush?
None for me.
Okay. Mrs. Elrod? Ms. Buggs?
I just want to thank the community members that came out to those MEA and NOAA passage meetings, and to those members of the community and members of MNPS who were part of that task force driven by Dr. Majors to look at the elementary arrests, suspensions, and expulsions policy/resolution. I feel very confident that we'll eventually be able to pass something that a majority of the community and our and MNPS employees will feel comfortable and confident in.
I'm excited to be principal for the day tomorrow at Hillsborough High School. Woohoo! 6:45 a.m., baby.
Ring the
That's gonna
bell.
be me.
You're gonna ring the bell.
And I also want to say that Councilman Glover is conducting meetings across the district. And so Hillsborough Cluster meeting is tomorrow night at Aiken Elementary at 6 p.m. And looking forward to the conversation about the partnership between the council and the school board, and hope folks in District 8 can show up.
I'll just say he's talking about budget and funding as well
There we go.
as a part of his presentation. So this is where the advocacy begins, my friends. Please show up if you can. I just want to just say a couple of things. One is just to continue to wish Mrs. Spearing, our board member who is recovering from surgery, wish her a speedy and healthy recovery through that, and to remember Mrs. Shepherd, who, as was mentioned, I think at the podium, who lost her mother. And I think the services for her were on yesterday. So to continue to remember her during this time. So we're a little shorthanded here, guys, but we've got a lot going on. And it's just as a reminder, right, that as we're human too. We're human too. So again, I express my appreciation for you all being here this evening. And Mrs. Walker?
With no further
business.
I'm going to get the hang of this. This meeting is adjourned. I'm going to get there.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information about this and other programs, visit nashville.org.